It's Ask an Attorney.
A lot of things in the law are confusing. Life is kind of confusing sometimes, but when you're dealing with an estate planning attorney and you've decided that you want to have a living trust as opposed to a last will and testament, how confusing is it when the lawyer then says, well, who do you want as your executor in your last will and testament? And you say, well, I want a trust. I've decided that's the best way for my family and I to handle the distribution of our assets. We don't want to go the will/probate route. We want a trust. Why are you talking about a will? That's because even if you have a revocable living trust, you will still need a last will and testament. It's referred to as a pour-over will, like a tea kettle that you pour over. So P-O-U-R, pour-over will. You won't see that term anywhere. Your last will and testament that is a pour-over last will and testament will just say last will and testament. But it's referred to as a pour-over will. And the reason why you still need to have a last will and testament, even though you have a trust, is as a safety net. Let's say, for whatever reason, you forget to put an asset into your trust. We've talked before about funding a trust and how important that is. But let's say there's an asset you either totally forgot about, or I had a case recently where someone passed away shortly after they had inherited an asset from another family member who had predeceased them. They didn't have the time to change their documents or to make sure that their inheritance was properly transferred into the trust. And so, even though everything that they had owned at the time of their death was in a trust, this one asset that had been inherited from a relative who died shortly before our person died, that asset was not in the trust. And so, the last will and testament that our decedent had signed at the same time as his living trust was able to take that asset, that inherited asset, and the beneficiary of the pour-over will was the trust, was the trustees of the trust. And so, yes, there had to be a probate of that last will and testament for that one asset. The beneficiary was the trust, and so at the end of the day, everything ended up in that person's trust. But that was because there was a safety net, that pour-over will. So when you're working on estate planning and you've decided that you want to have a living trust, keep in mind that you still will need to have a pour-over will, or it's a last will and testament. It's just referred to as a pour-over will, as a safety net in case there are any assets that aren't transferred into the trust during your lifetime, or in the case of disability, before you become disabled. If you've learned something, then please like this video, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe to this channel.